Hey, it's Lauren Abrams from 52 Weeks of Hope, and I have Tara here from episode 133. It was such a great episode. But for anybody who didn't get the chance to listen or watch that, Tara, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Well, I'm Terra Newell. I am survivor from Dirty John Meehan, but I'm really trying to break through my coaching, and I'm starting a podcast with my podcast partner Collier Landry, who is a true crime survivor as well and who has done a lot of the work to get here that I also do coaching work with.
Yeah, and she's amazing. It's such a good episode. I had so much fun talking to you. Um, for anybody who doesn't know about Dirty John or what that is, you want to just give a little synopsis of what it is, because you do so much good for criminal justice reform but more importantly, and not more importantly, I'm not going to start doing a weighing of what's better or anything like that, but for trauma survivors.
Thank you so much. So, Dirty John was my attacker, first of all. He he married my mom and they got into a relationship. It was a quick relationship and he just like doted on her. He was supposed to be a doctor, the perfect person. And so he really came into our lives and shook things up. He came after me, attacked me, and I had to kill him in self-defense. So I went through all of that and then survived, and then it got turned into a show because he was a con artist to so many other women. And then with my survival story, that made things extra interesting, especially with my mom being kind of like wealthy and interior designer, the smart businesswoman. It was like, how can this happen to people? So it was an interesting story. Ended up being a podcast on with Wondery in the LA Times that had over like 90 million listens, I believe, and then turned into a scripted series on Bravo, and then lots of other documentaries and everything since.
Yeah. And what I found really interesting, and until you and I met and talked about it, it's like the perpetrator's name becomes the one associated with it.
A hundred
And
percent.
you want to talk about that a little bit, because that's just so messed up.
Yeah, so I actually saw this video that was going around the other day, and it was really interesting because it was this deer that got into a fight, and the deer had another deer's like head on him because the antlers were intertwined. And I looked at that and I was like, wow, I don't know why, but I can relate to this so much. No matter what I do, no matter where I go in life, I will never be separated from the fact that I had to take a life and that I'm forever so associated with the name Dirty John. And so I was just saw that and I was like, wow, that is huge. Like I carry him from taking his life, and there's not a day that goes by that I don't think about that. I come to great terms with it and that I did it for self defense and everything.
Right.
However, there's not a day that goes by that I don't think about that. That will be forever a presence in my life. And now it's everybody knows the name Dirty John. You call a bad boyfriend that. You call a con artist that. You call just like someone toxic that you dated that. And that's really became a word that's been like a pronoun to describe a bad boyfriend. And to me, it's so much different. It's a life that I had to take. It's someone that tried to kill me. It's this huge thing. It's my attacker. It's these other people's attackers who were involved in the story, like Tanya, my mom. It was their perpetrator. It wasn't a bad boyfriend.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's so true. And I know, and you talked a lot about the work you've done in the podcast to get over it. But what I love is now you get to help so many people, and you coach so many to of how to get through trauma. And anybody listening, you don't need to have this dramatic of a trauma to experience trauma.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. So do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, even just being in toxic relationships, that's a trauma itself because you're, not being heard, you're not being listened to, and that really goes into you feeling insecure, not being able to fully live and shine with your light that you have because everybody has this light about them, especially if they're empathetic people. Then you really do have this light that needs to shine. And so, when you're in these toxic relationships, you're going through so much trauma. They're also treating you pretty wrong. And, you could be becoming reactive from that as well because you're going into the fight or flight mode. And now you're responding to these things that are happening to you. And so now you're living in a state of toxicity as well. So, there's so much trauma that comes with just relationships in general.
Yeah, and taking that breath and putting your hand on your heart, like if you're triggered, and it can be triggered from anything or nothing, like sometimes you don't even know. Putting your hand on your heart, closing your eyes, and just doing the deep breaths. It's such a soothing, self-soothing, calming, natural way to take care of yourself.
100%. I felt like I even needed that now.
Yeah, yeah. I think you did. We were talking about something that just happened to her, like totally unrelated to any of this, but you never know what you're drawing in and things like that. What I love talking about is getting to the light inside each and every one of us.
Yes.
And what raises our vibration and things like that. Because it's true, we all have that light and we can all access it. I'm not saying you have to deal with your shit. You have to. Like, you can't bypass it, or it's gonna come out and usually in health. You're gonna have
Yeah.
some kind of a health problem, or you're gonna attract that same stuff back to you, which I'm I'm not gonna do that weighing, which is worse. They both sound awful.
Right? Well, it's crazy because I talked to so many survivors, and so many survivors have like autoimmune disorders,
Yeah. Or the gut thing,
thyroid.
or
Yes,
the
gut
gut thing,
too.
oh my god,
Yeah.
I wanna tell everybody, like, what didn't you deal with? What do you like, sage, go in the ocean, cleanse it out, like, I don't know, like, you got a lot deal with
Right?
it.
Well, and then when our gut levels become bad and whatnot, and we're craving actually toxic food. So we're craving like the carbs, the glutens, and all of
The
that.
sugar.
And so yeah, the sugar. And so sugar's like rust to our body. So when we're craving all of that too, it's even putting us in an even worse mental state because we're like, oh, I just want sugar. And now my body feels worse and I feel worse.
Yeah. Yeah, no, totally. So, and I find journaling, 'cause and I tell people, if you don't even know what's going on right on the top of the page, "I don't know what's going on. Tell
Yes.
me what's going on." You're
Yeah.
asking the universe, and then just freehand journal, and it's gotta be freehand, I was taught, because that way it's coming from the heart.
Okay, I love that.
Yeah,
I like to
keyboard does it.
do
I mean, I prefer a keyboard because it feels faster or something, but I was taught that there's some kind of a vein, I don't know, but it comes straight from the heart if you're freehand.
okay, I love that. I'll have people, my clients and my coaching clients write letters to like their ex,
Yeah.
to to like their mother, to people.
Mhm.
Have you heard of a letter to self?
Yeah, the 3 letters.
Um, no, it was a part of like
A
this
letter to the
one.
person you're mad at, the letter back to you.
No, but I've done that with,
Yeah, then
what's that coach's name? I can't remember her name, but she was phenomenal. I did that with her. I went to this, event called Girl Talk, and they had us do those 3 letters
and
there.
then I just have somebody, she's like a mom to me, and she's like, "Write your 4 letters." I can never remember what the 4th is. I'm like, "What's the 4th?" She's like, 'cause just to clear out all that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. But I think it was like a letter to your future, like in 5 years, a letter to your past, and like I forget the other letters.
Yeah, the
Is
letter.
that right?
Well, I haven't done that. I like that, though. It's a letter, like, to a letter If you're mad at somebody, like,
Okay.
letter to them, get it all out. You don't send these, by the way. Any, well, that's the only one. And then a letter from that person back to you, which is
Okay.
really interesting. Like,
Oh,
if you're mad at your, partner or something, do that. Like, it's so interesting. And then a letter from the universe to you,
I
which is
like this.
also super. I can't remember the 4th one, though. Maybe it's a letter to, I don't know. I don't know what the 4th one is. I can never remember that one.
I'm writing these down because
Yeah.
I'm like, "Oh, I need these exercises in
Yeah.
my life."
4 letters. Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
I
those
love
are they're
this.
I know, they're so good. Yeah,
Yeah,
Tara and I are gonna do we're gonna do a workshop.
yes. Well, it's so important to write and get it out too
Oh, it
because,
is.
there's
Yeah,
so many
100%.
benefits.
Yep, yeah, no, I have a workshop coming up the end of March just about for people to get clarity and just to
Okay,
know to move forward, so,
I love
um,
that.
yeah, and so those are the letters. So what tools do you have for people to get to their light?
So I have people to first, they need to really kind of look at their life and see what is the burnouts, the burnout areas in your life. And then I like to get that scheduling down first because I'm like, everybody needs to have a good system for scheduling. And you need a system in order to and you need a plan. You need a plan first in order to put something into action.
Okay.
So I like having a plan of action. Let's go through your monthly, let's go through your weeks. What does your week look like? What does a good routine to you look like? Because it's all about working with the person because healing is just not a linear process. And so
Yeah,
you
that's for sure.
right? So
Yeah.
I'm like, this is your life. What do you need to fix in your life? And it's funny too because we'll work on the scheduling the first week. We'll be like, okay, you need to start to build good routines in your life. Like I suggest people to do meditation, some breath work because we actually aren't, and I'm not even sitting right now, but we're not taught to
Yeah, yeah.
breathe correctly in our body. And so it's really important to breathe out of your diaphragm and just do some deep belly breathing. And that, helps control the heart rate. And then it helps control the brain and the oxygen that gets to your brain. So just teaching them a baseline of okay, we need to start breathing differently because that's going to really help. And so we just go through the awareness of their schedule and what they need to change.
Do you use a scheduling app or do you have a scheduling app that you like that you use or no? It's nothing like that.
So I like to do plan like this.
Mhm.
Whoops. And I like to do my habits are, and I got this from the Skinny Confidential, Lauren Everts. So I liked her, plan because I felt like it adapted to my life. So I like to do a podcast, a book, a workout, and sound, but usually my sound's a meditation. And then we do my gratefuls. So we show gratefulness. And that really helps build the new neural pathways and the good neural
Yeah.
pathways for the brain.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes.
I'm
And
big.
then,
Yeah, I love it. We talked about that on the podcast. Yeah.
yeah.
Gratitude lists are huge.
Yes. And then I have my musket dones, the stuff that I absolutely need to get done. So, I need to feed the dogs AM and feed the dogs PM. I'm watching a dog, so I have those on my list. And then if I were having the list for today, I would have this podcast on the list because those are my musket dones. And then I want to feel how I want to feel for the day and set
Mhm.
that alignment for the day. And then I go into 3 people happiness because a huge part of healing is having that social connection. And when you send love to people, you just spread love. They send love, and it's like a recurring thing. And it really makes you feel great just connecting and sending love to your friends. And then after that, I have my to-do list. And that's the things that I want to do, but I don't know if I'm going to have time for it. You never know how the day goes. And you don't want to overload yourself with stuff. You
Yeah,
want
yeah,
to
yeah.
balance it out.
Yeah, definitely. It was interesting when I did a silent retreat not that long ago, I found out how to sit properly for meditation.
Okay.
And I always went against, like, I like to sit on the floor against the wall and have my back, so my back is straight. And, it's you're supposed to sit on a cushion with your legs kinda out, I don't know, like, elevated,
Okay.
a med 'cause I thought when I looked at meditation cushions, I was like, "That looks odd," but now I get it, like, how I can't even describe it,
Well,
but
because, like, you want it, like,
so
straight
that
and
way,
stuff,
yeah, so that way you're upright, and anyway,
but
um
really, like, you're supposed to align your
yeah,
chakras, and so
I
I think
end up right, I end up like this. This is exactly how I can you still hear me? I'm a little bit
yeah,
farther from the mic, but I end up like this, and I could sit for long periods because we meditated a lot.
I love that.
Yeah, and, yeah, I should take a picture and put it somewhere. Anyway,
Well, I'm, like, actually sitting, like, how you meditate. My legs are crossed in my chair, and then I'm just, like,
yeah.
aligning.
Right,
But
I could sit like that, but you if you're gonna do long periods, you wanna be
pushing.
elevated because it's
Okay.
not good for your hips or something, I don't they explained it then, but,
That makes
um,
sense.
yeah, it did. So,
I love
anyway,
that.
yeah, yeah, it was really good. Um, so what's the number 1 tip that you would give somebody who is recovering from trauma or gets triggered and
I say that reaching out and starting with awareness, so, like, 2 things.
it's okay.
You know, having awareness that you are in that state and you need help is the first step. You know, that's accepting something's not right here. And then, going out for help is going to be the next step because you don't know the steps to heal. If you came to this place where you came to awareness, now you're going to have to learn. And a part of that is looking at other experts, reaching out to other experts, talking to friends that have been through something similar, really reaching out to your good social network or creating a good social network.
Yeah, you wanna attract well, we attract what we are. So we
Yeah.
wanna be vibrating at a higher level and we wanna be well. We
Yes.
don't wanna be stuck there. You told the story, again, it's episode 133, so I'm not gonna repeat all of it, but, about your old boyfriend and, like, getting stuck in that, and now you're in a really good relationship and, but you've done the work. You've
Oh,
definitely
yeah.
done the work. Oh my gosh.
So much, and I used
Yes.
to be and I hate to use this word,
Mhm.
but I legit felt this way. I felt crazy. I
Yeah.
felt like my hormones, everything was out of whack. I felt jealous. I didn't know how to handle things. I didn't even know how to cope with life or skills or just like I just didn't know how to do anything. And it created so much stress in my life. And when I got rid of that boyfriend, it was great. Well, he got rid of me.
The universe took care of it for you.
Right? And but he and I respect it now because I don't think I would have been able to detach without him saying like he wasn't in love with me and he kind of laughed in my face when I asked like, why shouldn't we give this one last shot? Um but that was what I needed to detach.
Yeah,
I needed those blunt um irrational boundaries.
yeah,
And, I think there's always a better way he could have handled it. There always is. There was a better way I could have handled it, but turned that into a learning experience.
yeah. I mean, it's always through our darkest times that we get our most growth. It sucks when we go through it. It's not like, "Oh, good, I'm growing."
Right?
It's more like, "I am never gonna get through this. I'm going to die."
Yeah, that's exactly. I'm gonna die. I'm gonna die. And it's crazy that so many people go to that narrative
Yeah.
that, like, without that relationship, you feel that you're gonna die when actually you're gonna be good.
Yeah, yeah, but
You're
when
gonna
you're
be
in it
great.
I know, but oh my god, you do not know it when you're in it. You're on the floor, you're, like, dying, and
Right?
you need girlfriends, you cannot stay alone, like
Well, even that I'm in, like, that healthy relationship.
Mhm.
The other day, like, we had a talk and, he was just in a low place and he said something to me like, "I don't know if I wanna get married." And to me, I was like, "Whoa, that triggered my abandonment so
Yeah.
much."
Mhm.
And I was like, "What am I even doing here?"
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is great because we reestablished our commitment towards each other and like made it known, and he was never not committed to me. It was just a moment of doubt for him, and
He's
it
just talking. He was just
yes,
talking, but I totally understand. Like, abandonment gets triggered so easily in me. Like,
right?
so yeah, guys saying, and I don't, any girl who's self-aware will understand,
Uh-huh.
or who
And
has
he
abandoned. Maybe if they were raised in like some family that I was not raised in, and neither were you. Like, they
a
don't have
secure
that,
family.
huh?
A secure family.
Yeah, exactly. I've interviewed people that, like, grew up talking about their feelings and yes, very secure, like, amazing, you
You're
know,
like, "Oh my gosh, that's
I
so great."
I'm just like, yeah. I always talk about how I'll still, like, Google feelings chart, and I'll look at all the feelings and go, "That one. That's it.
I
That's the
love
one."
that. But,
Yeah,
when you're not taught to talk about your feelings, you need to teach yourself.
yeah.
And so that's great that you look at a chart and look at that. I am like, I might need to like suggest that now. And
Oh,
it's
they're so good. That feelings chart thing is so good. I was so impressed with my kids when they'll be like, "Mom, can you pull over a minute? I'm really intimidated by this." And I'll look and go, I cannot take credit for that, but I was so impressed that like they can my kids talk about their feelings and stuff like
I love
yeah,
that.
yeah. So
Well, and it shows like how great of work that you've done with yourself too. If like you're teaching your kids
yeah,
different
they
habits.
teach me now. Like, are you yeah, they're like, "Don't say it like that." I go, "Why? How should I say it?" I'm so open to anybody everybody. I'm not alpha to anyone over here. Not the dogs, not the kids, no one.
I love that.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
that's amazing.
yeah. So, Tara is an amazing, amazing coach, and she holds workshops and trainings and one-on-one, and she's got a great intuitive ability. She gets it. She trusts her gut now, and she speaks up in case you can't tell. So, if you want to reach her, we have all her contact information listed. And, or you can just go to the website at 52 Weeks of Hope. We've got all of that there too. And you've got to hear her podcast. And we have that listed as well, or listen to episode 133, 52 Weeks of Hope. Tara, is there anything else that you want to say?
Just if anyone wants to join for coaching, I have Moving Past Trauma Mondays. Every Monday, you could join for 5 weeks at a time. And it is amazing experience to connect with other trauma survivors, especially like, I didn't even realize, but people come to me and they're like, "Oh, I experienced what you experienced, like, killed a guy in self-defense." And I'm like, "Hi, welcome to the club."
Yeah.
But, not everybody's trauma is that extreme, so just come if you need a safe place.
Yeah. I love that. Thank you so much for going live today.
Thank you so much for having me.